Cost of Victory, Book 1 of the Unseen Scar series by C.R. Saxon. Chapter 22. Please, look at me. Talk to me, Zephyr yelled when the delivery box opened. Lunch was slipped inside, but the servant stayed out of sight. He caught a glimpse of Captain Rhetoric. The few times he escaped, the captain caught him and brought him back. This felt like a betrayal from his lifelong tutor and previously loyal manservant. The man wasn't one for words, but nothing. Even his unspoken pleas. Rhetoric didn't offer a single gesture of the grassland's hand language, the language this man taught him personally. Why wasn't his family here? Why was he treated like he didn't exist? What's going on? Pounding on the solid oak doors made him feel better. He could break them. Oak wasn't hard to an athlete, but there was no point. Even if he broke it, Rhetoric would catch him and they'd bring another door. This hurt, but it didn't compare to the tightness in his chest. I'm a caged animal. Only no one looked at him. Even the beasts in the zoos and shows were acknowledged. People looked at them, talked to them, let them know they existed. Zephyr reached a hand high, tapped his chest, and threw it forward. Why are you doing this to me? Leaning a shoulder against the door, he slid down, breathing erratically. What's happening to me? Let's get this over with. John cornered Ferdinand in his lab. The extension I asked for ends today. I have to give them something before everyone arrives. Skin splotched from paling and blushing simultaneously. Ferdinand searched for an escape. The room swam. Sharp, erratic breaths intensified his trembling. You're so close. Then cooperate. John offered breakfast to his ally. I'll even let you eat first. Swallowing hard, Ferdinand took the cup and plate. Every meal came with milk tea now. The portion started out reasonable, but... You're getting too ambitious, Ferdinand complained. I know you can do it. Bots did well on the tissue and blood samples, but not on the airborne samples, and not inside the body. What am I missing? I can see it. It's right there in front of me. Why am I not recognizing it? Ferdinand's eyes drifted back to the man's lifeless body. Swallowing hard, Ferdinand banished the rest of that memory. To get John off his back and to give himself a little more weight on the scale, Ferdinand stuffed most of the meal inside him. Burning red head to toe, he approached the scale. How he loathed this. What right have they? While Ferdinand grumbled internally, John looked pleased. You did it. Huh? Ice crawled across his skin and ran up his spine. You did it, John laughed. 14.5 pounds, that's wonderful. I thought you digressed at home. I guess I didn't need to worry. I gained how much? The school's gonna love this. You beat your goal by half again. It wasn't my goal. Yeah, that's fair. Grabbing his screen, John opened up a box to send his report. How do I drop 5 pounds without him pestering me? Wait. Ferdinand looked up. Chocolate brown eyes stared at him intensely. We're still the same height? Looks like it. Stinging needle seized Ferdinand by the wrist and dragged him to the wall. Why is he so grabby? Stop touching me. But he couldn't handle another fight, so the tinkerer grit his teeth and stood still, while John marked the top of both their heads. They were exactly the same, like always. A troubled expression filled the dentist's face. He's realized, but height wouldn't matter when he returned home. Oya grinned. An onslaught of people flooded the islands. There was plenty of room to host such numbers, far more than she'd ever seen here. For weeks now, everyone hustled, preparing for what lay ahead. It'd been fun torturing the science students, but right now, the island held their breath in anticipation for everything to begin. Everyone was on their toes, poised on a knife's edge. Excitement and anxiety filled the air, waiting for the fun of this week. Before her, rooms and arms opened, offering love and joy and bliss aplenty, all for those rushing to the islands. Oya grinned. Gather round. Ferdinand hovered high above the ground. Once they coalesced, he lowered himself to the grass and deactivated his cuffs. Go greet your families after you've finished. If you can't keep your mouth shut, stay here. Understood? Cheers followed the unexpected announcement. This was fair. He forgot to give them meal breaks most days, but he knew how excited they were for family visits. It didn't take long for everyone to bolt, starting with Zhao. John hesitated, but a nudge sent him off. Soon it was only him and Oya. Even the few who didn't have family here ran off to join friends. Blood-red hair and a mischievous grin moved closer, bringing that pleasant warmth and making him smile. I need to leave her alone. She'd have dozens of friends by now if not for me. But being around her, spending time with her, giving that up, how did he do that? I've always been alone. It's easier. It's safer. I just have to go back. But he didn't want to. He didn't deserve her, but he wished he did. A little longer. Is it wrong to be selfish a little longer? You aren't greeting your family? Oya asked in Ondo, smirking. No one's coming. Delicate fingers played with the chain around her neck. I'm sorry. You're staying here to keep yourself busy? No, I'm avoiding John's brothers. Oya's grin curled up higher. Are they so bad? They aren't bad people, just overbearing. I had my fill of togetherness during break. Ah, she gave him a strange look, but changed topics. We have the whole island to ourselves. What should we do? You aren't greeting your family? Ferdinand offered her an opportunity to leave. Don't waste your time with me, when you can be with people who love you. It isn't possible for them to see these islands. Ferdinand tried reading her face, but there wasn't anything there. If her parents couldn't see the islands, though, then it was too dangerous for them to travel. Is she a forbidden student? Usually students from such places weren't allowed off the islands until after starting advanced studies. Elby was one. He had arrived as an infant and hadn't left. The child wasn't a lord either. Elby didn't know any of this yet. He was still too young. As the young boy's mentor, there was limited information Ferdinand was privy to, so he could adjust his mentorship accordingly. He was one of a handful who knew such students existed. Others were also mentors who held the possibility of traveling with advisees for training. But Oya was old enough to know, and she'd arrived recently. Is this why she's so secretive? Ah, they're busy too? Oya grinned knowingly. Precisely. Want a race? Bah, like I would. He dashed off, giving himself a good head start. Cheater! She laughed, running after him. John, wait! Zhao came running up from the direction of the administration building. Do you need something? John raised an eyebrow. I'm kind of excited to see my brothers. No, I understand completely. They have my sister. Rura? She's here? John smiled. Yeah, your family brought her. Ferdinand was killing me keeping us so long. Me too. John grinned all the wider. Grabbing his younger peer's arm, Zhao bolted. The two laughed as they stormed across the bridge to the guest quarters. Never before could they run so far or so fast. Oya was a miracle worker, and a mean drill sergeant. John, Ferdinand will be on his toes till after the show's over. I made sure of that. But what about afterward? Breathing as heavy as Zhao, but not as much as he expected, John answered easily with a grin. Don't worry. My brothers and I will take care of that. I knew I could count on you. We'll plan long term, once the excitement dies down. As if you could think of anything other than your sister, once you see her. John's smile widened. Zhao gave the younger boy a push, making his underling stagger. You'd know better than anyone, wouldn't you? It's impossible to pull you away from family. Both laughed as they approached the guest quarters. Two of John's brothers stood waiting with a tiny girl, or maybe she just looked tiny next to the giants. It's about time, baby brother. The men laughed. We're starving. Zhao! Rura screamed, running for him. Joy filled her face and leaked out her eyes. Not missing a beat, Zhao lifted the 6-year-old and spun her around. His own tears came and he squeezed her tight. Rura, I've missed you so much. I've missed you. Thank the heavens you're all right. The Artemises were used to giving affection, but they didn't see much given outside of Oishi. The three brothers stood, smiling at the scene. John didn't watch for long, though. While Zhao and his sister enjoyed their reunion, he went inside and started cooking. People wanting to eat his food was a pleasure he missed lately. Baby brother, you need to come home more often to cook for me, Ozar boomed. What? Dad taught you how to cook too, John teased, and you need to practice for when you have your own children. Yeah, but Dad can cook, Samuel nudged his older brother. You got a lot of training ahead of you. I've heard tales of the king's astounding food. Zhao smiled and squeezed his little sister. What did you think, Rura? Yummy! Thank you very much. John beamed. When did I last smile like this? Thank you. Why so emotional? Zhao raised an eyebrow at the response. For months I've only heard complaining. Oh, Ferdinand, right? If my super picky sister loves it, then you're nothing less than amazing. The older brothers laughed and agreed. It's getting late. Time to get Rura ready for bed. I can bring her here in the morning, right? Of course. Samuel's an early riser, so don't worry about waking us. Ozar grinned, and the three waved Zhao and his sister off. Now that your bellies are full, any messages from the rest of the family? His older brothers grinned and yelled, I love you, in unison as they grabbed him and pulled him in for a bear hug. John laughed. They were probably told to deliver it just like this. How's Ferdinand? Samuel asked more seriously, letting his baby brother sit up. He talks to Evelyn whenever she calls, but the moment she's away from the screen, so is he. He's doing better. He's acting happier and more sociable. I even put 15 pounds on him. The brace is off, too. Ozar jumped in. What brace? His arm. It was in a brace when he returned, but it was off a couple weeks later. He uses it without any problems now. That's odd. Ozar sat and thought. 15 pounds is good, Samuel offered, focusing on the positive. He still has over 40 to go before he's a healthy weight, John shrugged. Healer Bear and I are trying to figure out when to bring up his next goals. That'll be difficult. Are you sure he's up for so much? Worry knit Samuel's eyebrows. Over 50 pounds underweight? Ozar was aghast. Yeah, kind of. He's grown nearly 4 inches since I started feeding him back at the hospital, so the amount of weight he needs to gain keeps increasing. Irritated, John continued on. 15 pounds seemed like a success, but I did the math. Taking into account his height, he hasn't accomplished anything. Really? Surprise painted Ozar's question. He was 45 pounds underweight at the hospital, and still is now. It's frustrating. You didn't invite him to dinner tonight? Samuel interrupted. I tried. He doesn't know how to face us. It was hard what we made him do before he left. Sitting him down and telling him we love him, care about him, and want to help him was important. Ozar looked toward the water. He needed to hear that. It was still hard, John responded. As long as he's talking to you. Samuel gave John a squeeze and mussed his hair. Yeah, but Ferdinand doesn't do anything without a reason. His ally had as much reason to talk to him as the rest of his family. There was something going on John couldn't figure out. Samuel, do you know how those medical discs are made? The abrupt change in topics made the healer pause. No. Why? Ferdinand's apprentice asked for help figuring them out. I've tried, but it's beyond me. Why is Ferdinand's apprentice asking you for help? It's one of his lessons. Only, I don't know what Elby's supposed to learn. Samuel nodded. I looked at the blueprints once. They gave me a headache.